The Chicago skyline stretched across the horizon, golden light spilling over glass towers as the city began to wake. From his corner office on the 26th floor of Sterling Financial Group, Michael Carter sipped his black coffee, letting its sharp taste linger on his tongue. He preferred his coffee the way he lived his life, strong, disciplined, and free of unnecessary sweetness. His days were meticulously planned. Early morning reports, back-to-back client meetings, and a dinner reservation with Laura, his wife of 6 years. Their relationship wasn't fiery or tumultuous. It was steady and predictable, just the way he liked it. He glanced at his desk, where a stack of neatly arranged files awaited his attention. Everything in his life had its place, its order. Michael and Laura weren't the type of couple to argue or have dramatic fights. Their marriage was smooth, uneventful, or so he thought. That evening, he arrived home later than usual. The apartment was filled with the scent of lavender and vanilla, Laura's signature fragrance. She stood in the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of wine, her blonde hair tied in a loose bun. "You're home late," she said, swirling the wine in her glass. "Long day," he replied, loosening his tie as he walked toward her. Laura offered him a brief smile before glancing at her phone and quickly locking the screen. It was a small gesture, almost unnoticeable, but Michael caught it. He had always been good at reading people, clients, colleagues, investors, yet he had never thought to analyze his own wife. He dismissed the thought, blaming it on exhaustion. "I need to check an email," he said, pulling out his phone. The screen remained dark, dead battery. He sighed. Important contracts needed his approval. "Can I use your phone for a second?" he asked casually. Laura hesitated, a flicker of something crossing her face. Then, with a forced smile, she handed it over. "Sure, just don't go snooping through my texts," she joked. Michael didn't laugh. He opened the email app, quickly finding the contract he needed. As he was about to return the phone, his finger accidentally brushed the home screen. A folder labeled Private Memories appeared. His breath slowed. His heartbeat didn't. It was probably nothing. It had to be nothing. Yet his instincts, the ones that had never failed him in his career, urged him to look. He tapped the folder. The screen filled with hundreds of photos. At first, they seemed harmless. Laura at a restaurant, Laura at the beach, Laura in a luxurious hotel suite. Then his stomach sank. She wasn't alone. In nearly every picture, there was a man, tall, dark-haired, and strikingly handsome. Someone Michael had never seen before. The timestamps weren't from years ago. They were recent. Every photo was from Laura's birthday trips. Trips she had told Michael were family vacations. His fingers tightened on the phone as he scrolled faster. Laura holding champagne glasses with a man, walking along the shore, laughing together in candlelit restaurants. Michael's breath came in sharp, uneven bursts. This wasn't just an affair. It was a double life. Every year on her birthday, Laura had slipped away, telling him she was visiting her parents. Every year, she had smiled at him, accepted his gifts, kissed him goodnight, all while spending her real birthday with someone else. His hands trembled. He wanted to stop looking, but he couldn't. The betrayal felt like a knife twisting between his ribs, digging deeper with every photo. He closed the folder, his mind racing. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe it was all a misunderstanding. But deep down, he knew the truth. The timestamps didn't lie. Neither did the photos. Michael turned to Laura. She was still sipping her wine, completely unaware that the foundation of their marriage had just shattered. He clenched his jaw. Now wasn't the time to explode. This was the moment to think, to strategize. Because if there was one thing Michael Carter never did, it was lose control. The evidence linking Benjamin to his crimes was undeniable. And then, I did something I knew would set everything in motion. I prepared an email, not to the police or a lawyer, but to someone with more power than both, a rival firm, one that had been waiting for years to bring down Ashwood Capital. Now, I was handing them a loaded gun. Keeping the message brief, I attached exactly what they needed and hit send. Just like that, the downfall of Benjamin Reed had begun. Laura thought she was safe. She believed she could play this game forever. But she didn't realize the truth. She wasn't playing the game. She was the game. And I was going to end it. The next morning, I woke before Laura. The room was still dim, early morning light creeping through the curtains. But my mind was already sharp, focused. Today was a day everything would unravel. I slipped out of bed silently, went to the bathroom, and splashed cold water on my face. Steady hands, calm breathing, controlled thoughts. Laura stirred slightly but didn't wake. Good. By the time she opened her eyes, her world would already be in flames. I checked my phone. No messages from Derek yet. But it didn't matter. I had already set the wheels in motion. Benjamin Reed wouldn't know it yet, but his career, reputation, and financial empire were about to collapse. And Laura? She would have no choice but to watch it all burn. By the time I reached my office, the storm had begun. I stepped into the lobby of Sterling Financial Group, greeted the receptionist, and headed to the elevator. A few colleagues were huddled together, whispering and scrolling through their phones with furrowed brows. Something was happening. I stepped off the elevator, walked straight to my office, and sat down. My phone buzzed, a text from Derek. Turn on the news. I grabbed the remote and flipped to a financial news channel. There it was. Breaking news. Investment consultant Benjamin Reed under investigation for insider trading and fraud. I leaned back in my chair, a sly smile forming. The report detailed leaked evidence of his offshore accounts, illegal financial activities, and client data breaches. An official investigation had already begun. Ashwood Capital had publicly cut ties with him. Benjamin Reed was finished. And this was only the beginning. I took a sip of my coffee, savoring the moment. Laura's perfect little affair had just crumbled. I knew what was coming next, the panic, the desperation. And sure enough, my phone rang. Laura. I let it ring twice before answering, keeping my tone casual. Morning, I said. Her voice trembled. Michael, have you seen the news? I pretended not to know. Oh, something about Ashwood Capital? Sounds messy. She exhaled sharply, as if struggling to breathe. She was terrified, not just for Benjamin, but for herself. Michael, I need to talk to you, she pleaded, her voice desperate. I smiled. I'm at work. Can it wait? Silence. I could almost hear her mind racing. Please, she whispered. Just meet me for lunch. It's important. I let the pause linger before replying. Fine. 12:30 Moe's. A high-end Italian restaurant, neutral ground. Thank you, she whispered before hanging up. I set my phone down, staring at the news ticker on the screen. Benjamin Reed had lost everything in a single morning, and Laura had nowhere left to hide. At exactly 12:30, I walked into MOS. Laura was already there, seated at a table, her face pale and her hands clenched together. She looked up as I approached, her eyes searching mine for something. Pity, forgiveness. She wouldn't find either. I slid into the seat across from her, taking my time to unfold a napkin and place it neatly on my lap. So, I said, raising an eyebrow, what's so urgent? Laura swallowed hard. Michael, I need to tell you something. I tilted my head, pretending to be curious. Go on. Her hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. I made a mistake, she whispered. I kept my expression blank. A mistake? She took a shaky breath. I got involved in something I shouldn't have. Benjamin. He wasn't who I thought he was. She hesitated, then continued, he used me. I let the silence stretch, watching her crumble. This was exactly where I wanted her. Desperate, afraid, helpless. Used you? How? I asked, leaning forward slightly. Her lower lip quivered. I thought it was just a relationship, but he had me sign things, transfer information. I didn't realize what I was doing until it was too late. She was admitting it, not just the affair, but the crime. I breathed slowly, tapping my fingers against the table. That's unfortunate, I said, my voice calm, because I assume you know what happens next. Her eyes widened. Michael, you were complicit, I interrupted smoothly. Whether you knew it or not, you helped him. You sent financial data, signed illegal documents, and now it's all coming to light.